Check. Mic check. It's a Monday. Saturday is when we're recording this, but you're hearing this on a Monday, January the 22nd. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to it. If you've been here before, my name is Nico Ramos. This is the Better Than Ever Call to Arms podcast. A couple of firsts. This is the first time we're dabbling a little bit with the video podcast feature on Spotify. So if if this is something that you guys like, if this is something that maybe we have fun doing on our end, maybe we keep doing this. We wanted to make sure we rolled out video because we have a special guest on the podcast. As you guys know already by the description, NBA vet and now a member of the Strong Group team that's representing the Philippines in Dubai. The outstanding Andre Roberson is joining us on the podcast. He talks about just the gamut of things. He gets very candid, very vulnerable with us about his recovery, not just physically, but I think mentally. He says some things that, are worth kind of really pausing the podcast. I wish I could have paused the interview. There were a couple of times I just wanted to hit pause for a second, have that digest. There's a lot of wisdom from him, just talking about the mental side of basketball and I guess just recovery in life in general. He also talks about the young guys that he's teamed up with now in Strong Group, some of the best young amateur players we have in the country. And he gets very, very honest about some big name superstars that he's played with and he's played against during his time in the NBA. It's a wide-ranging chat that we had with him, and I appreciate him making time. Thanks to Coach Charles Tew, thanks to the rest of the team behind Strong Group for making it possible. We spoke to Andre just a few hours before they got on the plane to go to Dubai. So it wasn't the easiest scheduling puzzle to fix, but we made it happen, and thanks to everyone who made it happen. This episode's brought to us, by the way, by our friends from Slam Philippines, as always. So we all teamed up to make sure that we're able to get you guys this interview. All right, before we jump into the chat with Andre, though, every week we hand out a basketball championship belt. Who's him or her in basketball right now? Last week, Caitlin Clark held the title because she's ridiculous. This week, someone else who's ridiculous in a different way takes the title. So before we jump to the interview, we hand the belt over to Minnesota Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards. And is playing stupid well right now, and highlighted by those two massive dunks he had the other day. There's a video floating around of him watching the video of him throwing it up against the backboard, in the game against the Memphis Grizzlies. He was talking about how he was defended well, almost shot the midi, then just decided in a split second to throw it off the backboard and dunk it. Very impressive. Congratulations, and you hold the basketball championship belt this week. I got a feeling it's not going to be the last time that you hold it. All right, let's head to our interview with Andre Roberson. You guys enjoy.
We're happy to have with us. Thank you for making time. I know you're due at the airport in
T-minus.
It's too close to call. I'm not sure Coach Charles
T-minus 5 hours, 4 hours.
Close to the flight. But Andre Roberson, thanks a lot for making time.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Hanging out with Slam Philippines and being on the pod. How's the Philippines been treating you so far?
Man, there's nothing but love out here, man. It's been crazy. Just the amount of people that still recognize me. Over in the States, it's a little different. They'll look at me now like, I know that guy. But they don't know exactly, on the spot. Over here, they just right away, bro, Andre Roberson, OKC. So it's pretty dope, man. I mean, I try to stay incognito under the radar, but it's hard to do that out here. But it's nothing but love, and it's dope experience for sure.
I'm 5'10". If you ask my wife, she still thinks I'm 5'11", so don't know when break the news to her. I've been lying to her about my height since we met.
6 feet.
And I'm tall here.
Is that right?
Like people, someone just told me today, because I was just like, I'm trying to lose some weight. And they're like, oh no, it's fine. Like, you carry the weight, you're tall. I'm 5'10".
Shit.
So it's hard for you to stay incognito in a country where 5'10"
that
is
makes
tall.
a lot of sense. Yeah, 100%. What was the average height here?
All in all, like including women, I think last I checked it was like 5'1.5".
Dang.
But
What about men? Strictly men.
Oh no, that goes up to a staggering 5'5".
5'5".
So there you go.
Not bad, not bad.
Very
Manny
bad.
Pacquiao. Yeah. Shout out
bad.
Manny.
I want to talk a little bit about Strong Group. As we said, you guys are due to leave for Dubai in a few hours and compete there. Obviously, it's the chip that's the target.
Yeah.
What's been your impression of the team so far, and how you guys have been preparing for this tournament?
Man, it's been dope, man. We got a great group of guys. From what I'm told, they're pretty much all young, college guys that haven't really played together before. So I just found that out like 2 days ago, let alone yesterday. So I thought they were all on the same team. They kind of got them all together. And me, Dwight, Mackenzie, Dre, that would have been all our first time playing together. So it makes it a little bit more challenging having, everybody playing together for the first time. But, all in all, it's going to be a great experience, man, and ultimately bring home that championship. So it's going to be dope. So we'll see.
I mean, as someone who's followed your career, obviously, as you said, people here in the Philippines, they know you.
Yeah.
It's great to see you healthy. It's great to see you.
It's a blessing.
Really, maybe you could speak about just maybe the difficulties of just the rehab and getting back to shape. But can you maybe tell us about maybe when that conversation started and it matched up with your health and your preparedness, and you're like, yeah, you know what? Let me go fly over to the Philippines where I've never been.
Yeah, right.
Play in Dubai where I've never been.
Well, ultimately, it's challenging being hurt for anybody, right? But I guess that being a high level athlete is a little different in terms of the performance side of things and getting yourself back to that peak status again. So it was definitely challenging, let alone the setbacks I had, which ultimately made me atrophy my leg 3 times, which I don't know if lose muscle 3 times, and if you never had it before, it takes about 2 weeks to lose your muscle mass and completely have a skinny leg, and it takes about 4-5 months to build it back all the way up. So that alone is a challenging process. So for me to have it 3 times, it was challenging, and I went through states of depression, loneliness, all that good jazz. But ultimately coming out on top, and being pain free for the first time in a long time, and wanted to go out there, give it a shot, feeling great, feeling like myself again. So ultimately I had a good talk with my friends and family and my girlfriend, and ultimately left it up to me at the end of the day, but wanted to go out there and give myself that fulfillment of when I hang up the shoes, I'm satisfied. So and that's kind of why I'm doing it. So but no better place to kind of bring it full circle, and kind of what we talked about earlier is the game of basketball is global, and it's universal. So it's much more and great things, obviously, outside the NBA that life has to offer. So just using it as a vessel and going out there and try to experience as much as life as I can. So it's dope.
I heard you talking on Rachel, your girlfriend's podcast about this, and to hear you speak about it now, just so candidly, so transparently about how you struggle and how mentally, like it was a mountain for you to overcome. I think that's putting it lightly. Yeah. And I juxtapose that with the feedback that I've personally been getting from the staff, the teammates, and everybody saying that you are you're meeting a lot of these guys for the first time. You're playing with all of them for the first time.
Yeah.
They're all saying that Dre's a great leader. He's like a great glue guy for us because he elevates everyone's mood. I was just talking to a couple of guys yesterday, and that's what they were saying. They're like, he's like the happiest guy. They're like, he has so much joy for basketball. So
100%.
To maybe kind of see the contrast in your journey to where you are right now, just maybe mentally, I think is a great accomplishment. I appreciate you being so candid about it.
For sure. I mean, just like any young player, man, you want to go out there and be selfish in a way, and kind of, me, I gotta get this, be goal oriented. And obviously my struggles and my setbacks just made me, broaden my horizon a little bit, and, being down on myself and growing that mental aspect of myself, what ultimately makes me happy. You know what I mean? It's like, if I didn't have basketball again, what would make me happy? So being able to share that and mentor these guys and bring it full circle, of me being that player and then having somebody for them to look up to like that is pretty dope. So, I mean, we all have, our struggles and around the world, and just getting out of your own way, is usually the common denominator for everybody. So, I try to do that very often. Everybody has their moments, but for me, I try to do that and kind of bring light to guys and, just show them another side. So, it's definitely a dope experience, and it's good to be on the other side of that. So.
Yeah, and we're happy you get to kind of match that with the love that you're getting from the people here. There's going to be parts of this conversation that, I'm probably going to be a little curious about the nerdy side of things, because maybe what's become ordinary or maybe has become kind of very common to you as a high level athlete, someone that's played years and years in the NBA, is stuff that regular Joes like me are so curious about. So when someone at your level is rehabbing and you're getting back, right, and you're trying to really measure, as you said, if I feel like myself again, what actual things are you testing yourself against? Is it are you timing a sprint? Are you timing your vert? Is it number of shots in a row that you're getting back at? But when you're at that gym and you're measuring, right? What actually, what's the metric? How do you know that you're back?
Well, I mean, I guess from my situation, I mean, having that body awareness, I think we all have that kind of instilled in us to, being at that peak performance point, and just having that internal feeling, that gut. I was like, yeah, gonna have the numbers. Similar to rehab, they say 6 to 8 months, is usually you're cleared for basketball, but ultimately you're not cleared until you're right up here. You know what I mean? So, and that's different for everybody, because once you're right up here, there's another level you have to get to push yourself, and you will never push yourself if you don't up here, let alone break that barrier. So it's hard to, in a sense, say you're clear, let alone put yourself back out there without doing that rehab for that last little bit. So to bring that full circle, what was the topic again on that?
So how do you know that you're
at the peak performance? Yeah. So ultimately, knowing that you're ready, obviously the statistics, the number wise, but at the same time, just the feeling, your timing, is the reason why a lot of guys now, before they even go, after being injured, they don't go right back into the game. They go to the G League. They kind of ramp themselves up because you can feel it. It's almost like being in the zone. You know what I mean? When you're in the zone, everything just flows. You don't have to force anything, and it's similar to, being at that little status. So when you know. It's unexplainable to a degree. So it's like when you know.
I spoke to a pro basketball player here in the Philippines before who had torn an ACL. And it took him also a while to get himself ready. And I asked him the same question. And he said, if you tear something, you break something, as you're rehabbing, all you're thinking about is that one part of your body. And for him, it was his left knee. And he's like, one day at practice, I found myself not thinking about my knee. I just went through a 1 hour practice, and I was actually just thinking about the motion, just my shot, just defense, just scheme and stuff like that. And he says it's actually the absence of thought. It's when you stop thinking about it. And I was like, that kind of makes sense. I think about my ankle when I get up and stand up in the morning. It's just in my thought all day because it's banged up. So at maybe how long ago from when you signed up with Strong Group were you leg not an issue? I'm all the way back
for a while. I mean, ultimately, in order to get to that point, you have to be pain free, right?
Right.
If you have pain, it's going to make you think about it all the time. So for me, it was being pain free. Was the first step. So I kind of been pain free for a while, a couple of years now. But everything after that has kind of been mental. Is if I wanted to pursue it again, if I do step back on the court, am I willing to risk going out there, getting hurt again, potentially something even worse, or just something else that's nagging? But he brought up a great point. Is just building that level of trust, and ultimately, once you trust it, you have so many reps, and more rehab, the less you think about it. And that's ultimately a great way to put it. So is not thinking about it. And even, I guess for me, how I did it was a backdoor alley-oop, and I went off my single leg, my left leg, to jump, and that's kind of when it imploded on impact.
See, that's why I don't do backdoor alley-oops.
Well,
that's why I choose not to go up for the lobs. They throw the lob, and I'm like, nah.
It happened way before then, so that's the crazy part about it. But that's for another time. Yeah, for me, I guess now it's just like even jumping off my left leg, not thinking about it. It's like, I'm good, I'm cleared. Because even when I was cleared, jumping off my left leg, I'd be scared. And that's just the mental side of things, and just giving yourself the reps. That's what they say with basketball, shooting, in terms of breaking habits. So,
I think that's
a great way to put it.
I think that's been great value to a lot of these young guys that you're teammates with now, because I think a lot of the time they get exposure to an NBA level player, someone who's had a lot of success in the NBA, and maybe I think immediately what we try to pick up is skill, is something tangible, all right, like maybe it's a drill, or maybe it's the way you go about things, when really the mental part is as you say, such a big component to it that maybe you don't realize until X number of years as a pro, or maybe after a significant challenge that you have to overcome.
100%. And I would say that just like what separates the good players from the great players is the mental side of things. And to piggyback off that, it's just like, you can take a drill from somebody, but what's their purpose? What are they focusing on when they're doing the drill? What are their cue points? And just what's their insight on why they started doing that drill in the first place? So that's why I like to talk to people a lot. It's like, I could pick that up. It's a great drill, but why do you do that? Well, why do you do that here? And just kind of just break it down in a more detailed way. So that's a great point, and it's just bringing it full circle to life. I mean, we're all one of ones in a sense. So we can sit here and this is what it takes to be successful, but everybody has their own path. You know what I mean? And just like there's many ways to get to 10. It's 2 plus 2 plus 2. Plus 2 is another way to get to 10. 5 times 2 is another way to get to 10. It's just infinite ways to get to 10. You just apply that to a larger scale of number. It just makes up the universe in a sense. So I think it's dope in terms of that aspect. So studying people's perspective is a great way to kind of gain that next step. So
I think that's a tremendous way to put things, right? The various ways to get to 10. A lot of the reason behind this podcast in general, and why I gravitate towards talking to guys at the peak of something, which in this case is the sport of basketball, is there are only so many NBA players in the history of mankind. It's really for me, every time I run into, not to get all weird about it, but every time I run into and have the pleasure to talk to someone who's had success in the NBA like you have, it's so stupid how rare that is. That's why I consider myself and my teammates here, we all consider ourselves very blessed, is because of just how special that achievement is. Which obviously I don't need to tell you that, but just the kind of person that it takes. And
I'm right there with you, man.
So much to learn off of someone like that. Let's talk a little bit about the NBA career, right? When you're looking back now, given all of these, I guess, epiphanies that you've had, it seems like, and this just really fresh, really renewed and revitalized mindset you have towards basketball. Well, when you look back at your NBA career, is there a particular memory, game, play that you're like, that's that one's my favorite, that's the one?
Man, it's a lot. There's a lot of memories like that. Obviously, being a childhood fan of the Spurs, playing against Tony Manu and Tim, great time. It's crazy because it's like, damn, I'm playing against them, but it's like, well, now I gotta go out there and bust their ass. In a sense, so it's like that was like a weird dynamic for the first time, ever experienced something like that. I never really got starstruck by anybody until them. So
for people who don't know, Timmy's your number one guy, right?
Timmy's my guy. Yeah,
that's your favorite player.
That's my favorite player. I grew up watching him. It's part of the reason why I wear 21. So and just the way he carried himself, man, just off the court, and just always gave to others. So it's my guy. But I would say that was one. That's crazy. I mean, the run we had in 17? That's one. 16, 17. Because that's a double-edged sword. It's like, yeah, it was great. Obviously, being up 3-1 on the quote-unquote greatest team of all time. Seeing how great we could have been if we won it. It's like, shit. But then came back and lost. So it's like, well, double-edged sword. So, I mean, those are two great ones for me, I would say. But I wouldn't. Fuck. So many good ones to choose from, but I'd say those two.
When we look at your career in particular, and especially I think at your peak when it was widely recognized that you were among like the best defenders in the NBA, and I think what goes unappreciated a lot of the time is that wing defenders in the NBA don't just guard wings. Yeah. Like it's unfair, right? Yeah, because 100%. Like if like with all due respect, like if you're big and you're a good defender, you're most likely just guarding bigs, right?
Pretty much.
If you're a small pesky guy and you get steals, you get pokeaways and stuff like that, you're guarding the other team's small and pesky guy, right? But elite wing defenders, like the real true, like
yeah, you get into a touchy subject there, brother.
top of the class, like like wing defenders such as yourself, you're guarding one through small four, right? Yeah. So they're putting you on the dunker spot guy who's a 5 a lot of the time. What were your favorite matchups? Like whether it's guys that you were like, I'm glad I was able to hold my own against this guy, or man, that guy was a problem.
I mean, just before we get started, that's why I hate the DPOY award. It's like it's just a fucking big man award. It's like, bro, label it that. It's like all they do is sit in the paint. You tell them to switch 1 through 5, it's over. Like, you know what I mean?
Just give an award to the guy with the most blocks.
Rudy no, not to discredit him or anything, but 3 times in a row I was like, bro, it's a lot of great defenders in the league, and just to single out one person. And so I was kind of happy Draymond got it 1 year, and obviously Marcus Smart getting it this past year, or what was it, 2 years ago? So
I feel like Marcus getting it was kind of like a big
it was a bittersweet. Like this, it was a bittersweet
secret
moment,
fraternity of you wing defenders.
I was happy, a guard finally got it for the first time in a long time. When I was like, man, it just goes to show, it's like they just overlooked the wing defenders, as you just spoke about. So like I said, it was bittersweet. But what was the question again? I'm sorry.
So like when we talk about everyone you went up against,
what were my favorite? Kawhi was obviously one of my favorites. Just his game, his growth, has been amazing. And to me, still, if he stays on the court, is the best player in the NBA per se. James Harden in that era where he was exploiting the reach down grab, or whatever you want to call it, the gather, was pretty tough. I hated it, man. It's like you couldn't touch him, and then he just flop. But he was tough during that era. Obviously, Steph Curry. There's numerous of guys you can kind of name, man, from each team. Unfortunately, didn't get to. You could say Kevin. I guess I played against him at Golden State. He's one of those guys, tough to guard. Kyrie as well, very skilled. But everybody brought their own unique twist to the game, and I think that's what makes a great defender a great defender. You got to learn how to guard all these guys because they're unique in their own way. Like Kevin's like hezzy. He pulls it up here, being 7 feet, and you don't bite on that hezzy, he's going right by you. So it's like his 1 to my 2 slides makes it hard. Guarding Kyrie, being small, being agile, not being able to touch smaller guards and being physical with them makes it difficult. Being able to stay in front of them is challenging. All the way, being physical with more of a Kawhi, being able to, hold your own in the post, being able to guard him in transition matchups, being in his ISOs. So it's definitely dope, man. I would say those guys for sure.
I mean, just that range, just the range of the type of player that you just mentioned. Like, you got through young Kawhi, and then obviously talk about his growth.
So Steph Curry, sorry, I didn't even ramble on him.
Steph and Kyrie, 2 of the probably like best handles
best
ever.
handles. Steph being able to get it off from any point, insane. Doesn't need much space, man. and just how shifty. And I didn't think he was as quick. He's not fast, but he's fucking quick. So you combo that with being able to have a quick release like that, it's pretty tough to guard him. So it's insane. Yeah.
The thing too with Steph is because he's so universally loved by little kids. Like he could walk into like your own arena, hit a big three, and like your own fans just like 100%. My instinct just go, oh no, wait, I can't cheer for that guy.
Yeah,
because it's amazing.
I mean, that just being the greatest shooter ever to play the game, it speaks for itself, man. And we're witnessing something I don't think we'll ever witness again, which is crazy to say. So just being able to appreciate what we see, and it's like, yeah, it's like internally you root for him, even if it's not you're on your team. So it's a pretty dope experience. It's almost like MJ, you know what I mean? And that's why I kind of put Steph up there with the greatest of all time and on that Mount Rushmore, for me at least. So he brought a unique taste and a different inspiration to the game. So it's dope.
Yeah, you got Kobe at the end of his career.
I got post Achilles Kobe.
But I mean, I was,
it was an honor though.
I was just looking through it, and I distinctly remember a game in 14 where like didn't he finish with 9, or he had 9 for like a long stretch? And like you were on him.
I was on him like right on right.
Anything. I remember watching that game, and I remember a specific point where he was like, he just shot you this look.
Yeah.
And he was like, this dude.
This motherfucker. Because he relies a lot on people talking shit, and that's what got him going. In that game, I was just quiet as a mouse. You know what I mean? But I mean, I studied and watched him growing up, being a big time Spurs fan. So if the Spurs didn't make it, they made it, and if they didn't make it, then we made it. So I knew a lot of his moves, and I was just saying, fight him off his spots. When he gets to his spot, if he gets there, stay down on the pump fakes. Stay down on the pump fakes, because he's gonna let it go. But he definitely made it tough for him that night for sure. But it was, like I said, it was an honor and a blessing and a privilege to be able to go up against him. So I definitely cherish that moment for sure.
So when you play, a guy like that, is he chirping? Like, is he just like by default talking, or or could you tell he was waiting for you to say something?
And that's the thing that I loved about Kobe. He didn't really talk smack. You know what I mean? Unless somebody said something to him, he ain't saying much. I mean, MJ's a little different. You know what I mean? MJ would talk smack here and there, but if you talk smack to him, good luck. You know what I mean? It's like you keep him in that dormant state as long as you can. But
and is everyone on the bench going like, Dre, you're doing good. Man, just don't say anything.
Don't say anything. I told myself, don't say nothing. Don't even say good job. Don't even pat yourself. Don't do no emotion. Just go down there and do your job. But man, I definitely I did my homework for that game for sure. That was circled on my calendar to be able to play against him. So I was just stay on your P's and Q's. Stay on your P's and Q's. So like I said, it was an honor, man.
One more nerd question. I think that a lot of preparation gets highlighted with players who are much more offensively prolific, right? Like people go early to Warriors games to watch Steph like shoot around. I've always been curious as a defender, as someone who has to defend the best like offensive players in the world with varying skill sets. You get Kyrie one day on a back-to-back, you get Steph. That's the expectation and the standard for your success it's really unfair. But like, what does prep look like for you? Like,
well, for me, it depends on the player. It depends on the team. A lot goes into it, obviously. It's 82-game season, so
there's a lot of film.
It's a lot of film. It's a lot of reading that scout report that they give us, and also just keep it up on the games. Really, I mean, everybody says they're NBA junkie, like they're watching games, especially the big ones. So I try to watch as many games as I can. Let alone I read it. If I don't, I read what went on that game. So usually, if a guy's on a hot streak, say DeMar DeRozan started off the season, like he did that one year, just averaging 30 for like 7-8 games. I was like, oh, he's coming in hot. He's coming in hot. So what is he doing in these games? And then I'll go watch my film. I'll go to the analytics guys. All right, what's his tendencies? What is his percentages going left? What's his percentages going right? What's he do? Step back, going left. That's his move, going left. Doesn't really go all the way to the hole. Right, he goes all the way to the hole type stuff. But stay down on his pump fakes when you get in a low post. Let him shoot a tough non-paint too. Obviously, he's great at that, but that's what makes great players great players. So being able to do all that, and like I said, studying the game, studying momentum throughout the season, just watching teams and how they fluctuate, and just not just the guy, or I should say not just the key players every night, also the potential matchups and players I'm switching onto. You also have to do your homework for them as well. So depending on our scout report, say as the Warriors, I'd have to study Steph, Clay, Draymond, obviously Sean Livingston. Guys come off the bench as well. Like, you got to do all this. So, and in my mind, I'm like, man, I'm getting paid millions to go study the game of basketball. It's like, man, what better job do you have? Which I think a lot of guys don't necessarily, I feel like they take it for granted in terms of, studying the game. And I think that's what separates LeBron and him being a student of the game and understanding plays before they happen.
He's the biggest nerd out there, isn't he?
He's a big-time nerd. And he can recant and remember and tell you the play vividly in his head. So that's just being able to do all that, man. And then, getting with, the coach and talking through the coverages. And so what are we going to do here? All right, we're going to switch 1 through 5. We'll potentially put you on Draymond. So if he sets the screen, we're just switching on to the guys, that type of stuff. So, and then, it's just basically a chess match in the game. You know what I mean? All right, well, they're countering it now. So, all right, we're going to make an adjustment here. So you just got to, be up on the game as much as you can. Because once you get in the moment, it's on the fly, you know what I mean? So you got to be able to adjust really fast. So once you know your stuff, it just makes it that much easier.
Yeah, this is the stuff that I salivate when I hear. It's just like the attention to detail that it requires, right? Like, without even like maybe noticing it, you're just like, Kobe, no pump fake. KD, watch out for that hezzy, right?
Ooh,
like DeMar, he goes right, he's driving. He goes left, pulling off step back. Just like Harden, don't reach because before you know it, he's got 14. He got 14 free throws the third quarter before you know it. It's just like I think that attention to detail is something replicatable, right? Like obviously, like I'm not a high level basketball player, right? But just those are things that I could learn from someone who's had your success in basketball, or maybe apply that. And hopefully people watching or listening to this are able to kind of like be inspired in that way also. 2 more things before I ask about what's the next chapter for you. One is it better or worse if you're getting a star player which would you rather have? A star player coming into the game versus your team on a hot streak or on a cold streak? Because I think when they're cold, some of these guys are just like, I'm going out of my way to really break this cold streak.
Yeah,
I
would definitely say I want a guy coming in cold, obviously. I'm taking my chances.
Maybe it's one more game he's cold.
But at the same time, I like a challenge too. So
right.
For me, it's like, all right, he's coming in hot. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I grew up.
This is when
you're gonna have to show me why you're one of the best. You know what I mean? So, I definitely take on that challenge. I typically love doing that when we're not on back-to-backs. But sometimes the way they set it up, it's like, it's tough. It's gonna be a tough night. So, but yeah, I definitely love to take on that challenge, man. And that's kind of how I always was raised. Is all right, well, show me why you're this guy. You know what I mean?
And I think as a defensive player, obviously the mark for if you are starting to become that guy offensively is when you get Andre Roberson on you.
Yeah, 100%.
Or when whoever the lead defender is, right? So whoever it is you're guarding, that signals to that guy, if he's in his rookie year, second year, third year, or like, all right, okay, I've made it. Dre's on me. But I think, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, as a defender, that moment comes when they start sending that screen and forcing that switch.
Yeah.
When did you start experiencing that? When they were like, let's get him off of our guy?
I would say third year, second year? In the second year going to my third was kind of the time. When I guess the refs also started picking up how I played defense.
Right.
It's like, all right, when I came in young and early, I would get a lot of foul calls. But after that, they kind of got adjusted to kind of how I played. It's a little bit more on the physical side, but Yeah, that's kind of when things kind of took a turn. When guys started calling for that ball screen early, it's like, all right, well, they recognize we're switching. But late in the games, I would have to fight over the screen.
Do you remember the first one when you were kind of like, oh, he doesn't want me on him. All right, this is nice.
Well, I mean, there were a couple moments, I guess. A lot of times when I know I got a guy is when they start complaining to the refs. That would happen a lot. Like, yo, these guys, but they would be no calls, and they're just, it's great defense. That's the moment I know I got a guy is when they complain to the refs. It's like, I'm on his ass now. I don't know if I can cuss, but I'm on his ass. But I guess one instance was like, James Harden would be one of them. He would always call me up or call up a ball screen. It'd be a 1 through 4. We switched 1 through 4. I believe it was Ryan Anderson one time, pick and pop. And beginning of the game, we'll switch. I got to abide by, the coverages and, our game plan. So that's kind of when I would know he'll call somebody up. All right, he's going against whoever was at the 4 at the time. I forgot, or Serge, I believe. So somebody that's not necessarily good laterally, but he'll meet you at the rim. So he can dance on him a little bit more and not just have to plug. And if I plug too hard, he's shooting it directly to Ryan Anderson for a long 3. So that's kind of one of the moments I knew. I was like, yeah.
So when you see this, when you see a guy with a ball just go like this,
it's different. Depends on who's coming. It's a great way to put it, because the big game of basketball in the NBA is usually 99% pick and roll anyway. So when I see this, it's like, all right, well, I know a screen's coming, but depending on who it is, if it's a 4 and he's doing it every time, I know.
Yeah, so there's a pick and roll for scheme, and then there's a pick and roll for get this guy off 100%. Of me right now. And then there's the Spain thing that they do, where like it's someone else that's screening for you before the switch.
100%. So like if they score off a couple times, I have to try to either fight over it. And if I can't fight over it good enough, and they're getting the backside 3 as well, we got to trap it. So that's usually kind of when things have to get switched up a little bit. So that's kind of when I know.
This will never end, because I'll then now start asking about schemes, and I'll start asking about coverages and stuff like that. And I again, you are due for a flight.
Yeah. Good, man.
As we wrap up, you had mentioned, as I said, I was doing research. I was listening to this really insightful conversation you were having with Rachel, your girlfriend, who were big fans of as well. Yeah, and you said you really wanted to go out on your terms, have one last tournament, maybe have one last run at a chip at this tournament, and then it's next chapter time for you. And it sounded to me like you kind of have your ducks in a row, and there's something that you're building towards. So I'm not sure how much of it you're willing or you're comfortable sharing at this point, but what's the next chapter look like?
Chapter, I don't know next chapter ultimately, but I kind of wanted to I wouldn't say this tournament would be the last of me playing, but kind of just one last stint, one last little chunk of basketball. So, 2, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years if everything goes well. Of basketball, but at the same time, like I said, I want to walk away on my own terms, and ultimately coming out here, stepping on the court, I know I'm putting my body at risk again. So I had to be comfortable with myself, and this is something I really want to do. And I finally got to a place where it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, you're healthy, nothing's holding you back but you. So it's like, do you want this injury to define you, or are you going to go out there and define yourself and etch out your own role? So that's ultimately what I'm going to do. And obviously, in order for me to move on to the next chapter or that long career in my life, I have to hang up basketball. So being 32 and saying I'm retiring is tough to do. It's tougher than I thought it would be. I'm not there yet. Obviously, like I said, we got a long way to go, but having that conversation with yourself is definitely a lot harder than people give it credit for. So, and that's just anything that you kind of give your heart and soul into at such a young age and made it to the peak and pinnacle of it. It's just like knowing when to walk away. So that's ultimately what I'm trying to do. So let's figure out that time.
I think it's pretty obvious. I'm trying to bait you into kind of just maybe sharing your openness based off of your limited time here in the Philippines, how much this is maybe an option. Because I have a feeling this isn't the last time I'm seeing you here. Yeah.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
We'll keep it at that. We'll keep it at that.
Who knows? I might be coming to a country near you. We'll see.
There you go. Dre, we appreciate how open you are, how candid you are, and just how
thanks for having me, man.
How you've allowed me to kind of like get nerdy with like all these defensive details.
Sure.
And I wish you all the best. And as we've just said, I got a feeling we'll see a whole lot of you over here.
Yes, sir.
Thank
I
you very
greatly
much.
appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks to Andre Roberson for hanging out. I really, really do appreciate it. If you guys have anything that you guys want to ask, suggest, you guys have any input, things you want us to talk about on the podcast, you can do so by dropping a voice message. If you're listening to this on Spotify, on the description of the episode, you can click a link and you can drop a voice message and be part of the pod. We're putting a bunch of those together. We'll have a special episode where we hear from you guys there. Always appreciate everybody, everyone who's shown love to the podcast. You can be part of our little community. We have a Telegram group. Just hit the link in the bio of the description of the podcast, or you can go to my Instagram at NIKKORMS. That's Nico RMS. A couple of links there to the pod, to the Telegram group. I'm curious if you guys want to see maybe another round of merch. If you guys want to have specific guests on, I really, really do want to kind of make this continue. This being the People's Podcast, and hear what you guys think. We'll hear what you guys have to say and kind of do our best to make sure it happens. Thanks to the gang over at Slam Philippines for putting all this together and helping make this the episode that it is. At Slam Online PH everywhere. Make sure you give us a follow. And yeah, we'll see you guys again next Monday. Who knows what is up in store next Monday, but we have a couple of pretty fun things that we're cooking up. And we have a couple of pretty fun guests lined up as well. We're building up towards an exciting February. I can't really reveal too much of our February plans and episodes, but we're going somewhere. We're flying somewhere, and their airport's gone viral very recently, and we can't wait to see it for ourselves. But yeah, an exciting time, not just for basketball, but for the podcast as well, and hopefully for all of you guys who listen. Super fun. If you guys have any thoughts, any comments about the podcast, about the chat with Andre Roberson, please do let him know as well. It's FlyDre21. My name is Nico Ramos. This is the Call to Arms podcast. I thank you guys for always showing love and participating in all the great things that we try to do here on the pod. You guys be safe, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you guys again next Monday, maybe even sooner. Who knows? Bye-bye.